你知不知道有多少？我倒要看看此族群想要你的人头，他怎么会强成这样？多大本事？哎呀！你不跑吗
Hello everyone, welcome to the Overlords channel. Here, I will share spoilers for SwallowedStar episode 220. Remember, this is based on the novel, so it won't be 100% similar to the Donghua version. Okay, without further ado, let's dive right into the story. After witnessing the embarrassing incident that happened to the Lord of Gan Wu at the Hongmeng Alliance bar, Luofeng decided to visit his old mentor's palace on Thunder Island. Even though Luofeng had now become an incredibly influential and powerful figure, he never forgot the Lord of Gan Wu's kindness in protecting his family since he was just a young genius. At the palace, Gan Wu welcomed Luofeng warmly, though it was obvious his mind was weighed down by the debt issue that had just blown up in public. Over food and wine, the two started casually chatting about Luofeng's family, especially his youngest son, Luai. Luohai himself had been a special disciple under the direct guidance of the Lord of Gan Wu for hundreds of thousands of years and showed incredible talent. Luofeng felt really at ease because, while he was out exploring dangerous places, the Lord of Gan Wu always made sure his son was safe and progressing without ever asking for anything in return. The conversation then shifted to a more serious topic regarding the Lord of Gan Wu's failures at the original stars. Full of regret, Gan Wu admitted that his current misery stemmed from greed after his first death. Instead of playing it safe to recover his losses, he kept taking massive risks by borrowing true treasures just to get back onto the battlefield, which ultimately led to 2 more deaths. This buried him under a mountain of debt, both to his fellow universe venerables and to the human race itself. The Lord of Gan Wu revealed that his personal debt to 6 friends totaled 1.6 true treasure points, while his debt to the human race was 2.2 true treasure points. For an ordinary universe venerable, a grand total of 3.8 true treasure points is an insane amount that could take billions of years to pay off. However, for Luofeng, who had just harvested a ton of loot from killing King Bark, Mirror, and Venerable Demon Sword, that amount wasn't a big deal at all. Without a second thought, Luofeng decided to lend the Lord of Gan Wu 1.6 true treasure points so he could pay off all his debts to his friends. Luofeng intentionally didn't pay off the debt to the human race so that the Lord of Gan Wu would still have some motivation and a bit of pressure to keep working hard in the future. This gesture deeply moved the Lord of Gan Wu and left him speechless, as the mental burden that had been crushing his pride as a leader of a universe country was finally lifted. Without a second thought, Luofeng decided to lend the Lord of Gan Wu 1.6 true treasure points so he could pay off all his debts to his friends. Luofeng intentionally didn't pay off the debt to the human race so that the Lord of Gan Wu would still have some motivation and a bit of pressure to keep working hard in the future. This gesture deeply moved the Lord of Gan Wu and left him speechless, as the mental burden that had been crushing his pride as a leader of a universe country was finally lifted. With his personal business sorted, Luofeng now focused on his main mission, hunting down Venerable Tianyang in the original stars. He realized that a lot of universe venerables in the Hongmeng Alliance were gossiping and looking down on him because he refused to lend out his wealth. But Luofeng didn't care about any of that. Wearing his silver force armor and carrying the cutting pearl sword on his back, Luofeng stepped confidently into the spatial whirlpool heading to original star number 02818, ready to prove that his walking treasure trove status wasn't something other races could take lightly. Luofeng finally arrived at one of the original stars, filled with majestic mountain ranges and giant spatial whirlpools in the sky. Sporting his iconic silver armor and silver wings, he took in his surroundings, which felt eerie and dead silent. Even though thousands of years had passed since the original star opened, Luofeng noticed that many powerful fighters were now choosing to hide and move in secret to avoid unnecessary conflict. After just half an hour of wandering around, Luofeng stumbled upon a mysterious purple object at the bottom of a lake in a mountain valley. The item turned out to be the imitation of Purple Sky, a high-level spirit weapon shaped like a purple cloth that could expand instantly to trap enemies. This discovery made Luofeng even more curious about the mysteries of the universe, especially since the item's name hinted at an original, far more powerful treasure out there actually called Purple Sky. With his strength skyrocketing, Luofeng was now exploring the original star as casually as if he were taking a stroll in his own backyard. He felt no need to fear Universe Overlord level fighters anymore because his offense and defense were already on par with theirs. While waiting for updates on Venerable Tianyang's whereabouts from his remote ocean body in the virtual universe, he kept moving to bait anyone looking to try their luck against him. Meanwhile, a fighter from the purple smelting race named Flourishing Light, the horde leader, was hiding in the forest waiting for the right moment. As a Universe Overlord from the Northern Territory Alliance, he had a unique physique that made him immune to soul attacks and wielded highly respected power. The moment he saw a silver-winged human flying across the sky, he instantly recognized the target as the legendary genius Luofeng. The Flourishing Light horde leader got completely hyped, seeing Luofeng as a walking safe carrying at least 6 true treasures. To him, even though Luofeng was famously strong, he was still just an immortal king-level fighter who shouldn't stand a chance against a Universe Overlord. Driven purely by greed, he decided to break cover and attack Luofeng to snatch the loot that could drastically boost his own power. The battle kicked off when the Flourishing Light horde leader immediately unleashed his ultimate move, Flourishing Light World, locking down the area using time laws. Seeing the attack, Luofeng didn't flinch at all. Instead, he wanted to use this moment to test the results of his 180 million years of training. Calmly, he drew his cutting pearl sword and triggered the fusion of gold and space laws, unleashing an incredibly sharp slash of golden light. The outcome of the clash totally blew the overly confident Flourishing Light horde leader's expectations out of the water. Luofeng's cutting pearl sword crushed the enemy's light technique effortlessly and utterly annihilated his divine body, leaving nothing behind. In a split second, the Universe Overlord's body was wiped out and turned to ash by the massive force of the attack. With just a single strike, Luofeng managed to kill a Universe Overlord and snag all the loot he left behind. After dealing with the Flourishing Light horde leader, Luofeng quickly secured the spoils of war, an armor and 6 true treasure weapons equivalent to top-tier gear. He realized that his golden light technique was indeed lethal, but it ate up more than half of his divine body in a single swing. Luckily, his remote ocean body was constantly supplying him with instant energy, keeping him in peak combat condition as he continued flying across the original star at near-light speeds. Meanwhile, back on the purple smelting race's home planet, the peaceful vibes suddenly turned grim when the avatar body of the Flourishing Light horde leader instantly crumbled to ash right in front of his disciples. Panic peaked when they realized that the life imprint and the token given by their master had vanished, serving as absolute proof that their leader had perished on the battlefield. The death of a Universe Overlord was a massive disaster for their race, as it meant losing one of their strongest pillars of power. The 3 other Universe Overlords of the purple smelting race immediately gathered, feeling incredibly stressed out because they never expected Flourishing Light could die so quickly without even getting a chance to call for backup. They figured the culprit had to be a Universe Master or some super powerful special fighter, so they decided to report it to the Northern Territory Alliance. Unfortunately, resurrecting Flourishing Light wouldn't be easy. Only the main master of the Alliance had the ability to revive a Universe Overlord level fighter, and they would have to wait a very long time. As for Luofeng, he was extremely satisfied with the results of his 180 million year training session because his power was now on par with legendary special life forms like the World Tree or the Cold Whale. With a genetic multiplier of 9,800 times and mastery over top-tier secret techniques, he was super confident that his Force Armor's defense was practically impenetrable to regular opponents. The easy win over Flourishing Light proved that his current power level had completely surpassed the standard Universe Overlord. Combat power aside, Luofeng was also right on the threshold of becoming a Universe Master after successfully mastering the spatial law of strangulation. Now all he had to do was merge the 3 main aspects of space laws: teleportation, space sealing, and strangulation to achieve that massive breakthrough. Luofeng was really looking forward to leveling up, because that was when he'd finally gained full control to wield his supreme treasure, the Star Tower. Back on the original star, Luofeng kept flying out in the open with his gleaming silver wings, straight up baiting greedy enemies out of hiding. He intentionally positioned himself as a mobile treasury, or walking vault to score more loot from anyone dumb enough to attack him. It was a super effective strategy since he knew plenty of fighters from other races would underestimate him just because he was technically still an immortal king. Sure enough, from behind a hilly valley, 3 senior universe venerables from the Thornring Alliance, including Venerable Jiqi, started eyeing Luofeng with crazy ambition. They were drooling over the number of true treasures equipped on Luofeng's body, treating him like an arrogant, easy prey for daring to show up alone. Completely oblivious to the sheer terror of Luofeng's actual strength, the 3 universe venerables started scheming an ambush to ensure he couldn't escape once they struck. Up in the skies of the original star, the ambush against Luofeng kicked off with massive tension as 2 major groups, the Northern Territory Alliance and the Thornring Alliance, started fighting over the same target. Venerable KB and Venerable Ba Shu from the Northern Territory Alliance rushed in right away to secure Luofeng's loot before Venerable Jiqi's crew from the Thornring Alliance could make a move. Even though they originally had their own plans, the pure greed of seeing a walking vault right in front of them made them ditch all strategy and race to be the first to kill the human genius. Luofeng stayed perfectly chill despite being surrounded by senior universe venerable level fighters with massive reputations across the universe. He sized up Venerable Ba Shu, who had a gigantic body, but realized that without high-tier true treasure armor, the guy could still be one-shot. Knowing his power was leagues above theirs, Luofeng decided to play along, acting like a terrified prey, and started flapping his silver wings to flee from the encirclement. A wild chase ensued as 5 universe venerables from both alliances tried to block Luofeng's escape route using time and space law domains. Venerable Bai tried to lock down Luofeng's movements with a ring-shaped spirit weapon, forcing Luofeng to counter by forming the Beast God from the 1,000 sealed stars to deflect the hit. The energy clash from the spirit weapon brawl sent massive shockwaves rippling across the original star, catching the attention of other fighters way off in the distance. Realizing that the racket would just attract more competitors, the Northern Territory Alliance and the Thornring Alliance finally agreed on a temporary truce to take out Luofeng as fast as possible. However, the team-up was clunky. They still didn't trust each other and had a hard time coordinating their attacks. Luofeng took full advantage of their hesitation, moving nimbly, pulling sharp turns mid-flight, and continuing to drag them deeper into his trap. To make things look even more desperate, Luofeng deployed his 9-Tiger River domain, summoning golden waves across an area of 19 million miles. At first, he deliberately held back its power so the domain felt weak, like some low-tier treasure putting up barely any resistance against the enemy universe venerables. This gave his hunters the false impression that Luofeng was backed into a corner and burning his final trump card, which was supposedly pretty underwhelming. The bait worked flawlessly, drawing in 8 more fighters from the Demon Alliance, 9 Territories Alliance, and Bug Race Alliance, including a seriously heavy-hitting Universe Overlord. Now, a grand total of 12 senior Universe Venerables and 1 Universe Overlord were packed inside the golden waves of the 9-Tiger River, all scrambling to capture Luofeng. They were all hyped out of their minds, thinking they were about to score at least 6 true treasures, including incredibly rare soul-type and palace-type ones. Once he felt like all the fish were in the net, Luofeng finally dropped the act and bared his fangs. He instantly burned his divine power to the max and fused his gold-law domain with the 9-Tiger River, turning the once gentle ripples into stupidly dense lethal pressure. In an instant, any resistance from the 12 senior universe venerables became totally pointless, as they were now stuck in a domain that felt like superglue, marking the start of the mass slaughter Luofeng had orchestrated. Luofeng stood tall in the middle of the massive rolling waves of the 9-Tiger River, which had now hit its absolute peak power. With his human body's life gene multiplier at 9,800 times and his divine power amplified by 100 times, the pressure of the golden domain became purely terrifying, capable of instantly injuring even mid-level universe venerables. The hunters who had been so thirsty to chase down the walking vault were now shivering prey, realizing their flight speed had crawled to a halt inside the domain and that they'd just walked right into a flawlessly designed death trap. Wasting no time, Luofeng brought out his golden horn beast body to encircle them from the outside, while his human body brought the carnage from the inside. Both transformed into the ferocious beast god form, cranking their attack coordination and killer instincts up to the max. Luofeng's first target was the biggest threat in the crowd, Venerable Zhongzhan, a universe overlord from the Bug Clan Alliance who rocked high-tier true treasure armor. Luofeng blitzed forward with his cutting pearl sword, dropping his ultimate devastatingly beautiful golden light technique, which pierced straight through the defensive laws of the universe. Even though Venerable Zhongzhong tried to block it with his absolute best technique, Luofeng's sword completely shattered his defenses and wiped out 62% of his divine body in a single hit. The second strike followed up instantly, and just like that, the Universe Overlord was dead, leaving only his purple armor floating in the middle of the Golden River. The massacre kept rolling with ruthless efficiency, with Luofeng and the Golden Horn Beast splitting the work to pick off the rest of the universe venerables one by one. Venerable Ji Qi and his buddies screamed in despair through divine voice transmissions, warning the other universe venerables that Luofeng was just bait and that there was a hidden powerhouse way out of their league. But the warnings were useless. Trapped inside the Nine Tiger River, they could only crawl like snails, while Luofeng moved like an absolutely merciless Grim Reaper. The Golden Horn Beast went completely berserk, using its massive horns to ram into and shatter Venerable Ji Qi's divine body in one brutal collision. Meanwhile, Luofeng's sword slashes kept harvesting the lives of the senior universe venerables from various alliances who lacked proper true treasure armor protection. In the blink of an eye, the number of enemies trapped in the domain plummeted from 13 down to 0, leaving nothing but a pile of loot floating in the sparkling river water. Just outside the reach of the Nine Tiger River, 6 teams of universe venerables from various other races could only watch in sheer horror as they heard those blood-curdling death screams. They picked up the hateful final messages claiming Luofeng was just a decoy set up to lure heavy hitters into a trap. Extreme fear gripped the 15 universe venerables and 1 universe overlord watching from afar, realizing they had just witnessed a ridiculously clean and organized mass slaughter. The vibe on the original star went dead silent after the final scream faded, leaving only the sound of the flowing Nine Tiger River. Luofeng emerged from the center of the Golden River, his silver wings still spread wide, glaring piercingly at the teams of universe venerables watching from thousands of miles away. His calm yet lethal presence made it so not a single fighter from the other races dared to make a sound or move a muscle, as if even breathing might trigger the wrath of the Walking Vault, who turned out to be a top-tier butcher. The tension on the original star spiked again when a giant silver-haired wolf named Venerable Baifa showed up and confronted Luofeng face to face. Venerable Baifa accused Luofeng of pulling a cowardly move by using himself as bait to lure universe-level venerables into a death trap. He was convinced that a top-tier universe overlord was hiding behind the golden waves of the Nine Tiger River to slaughter the trapped venerables because there was no way a mere immortal king-level fighter could wreck Venerable Zhongzhan that easily. Venerable Baifa started throwing out guesses on which powerhouse was hiding behind the scenes, dropping legendary names like Heaven Erosion Palace Leader, World Tree, or Star Prison Devil Master. Luofeng could only smile at the accusations, trying to explain that he was the only one out there, but not a single fighter from the other races bought it. To them, using a top-tier genius as bait was a dirty strat that dragged the human race's reputation as a pinnacle race through the mud, yet they still kept their distance, terrified of getting sucked into the deadly domain. The Universe Venerable's fear maxed out when Luofeng tried to take a step closer, causing Venerable Baifa and the others to instantly bolt at top speed to avoid getting trapped. Seeing his enemies run for the hills, Luofeng ultimately decided to drop the chase and casually strolled away from the spot. This whole incident automatically scored Luofeng a brand new rep as dangerous bait that anyone adventuring in the original star should steer clear of. The news of the 13 Universe Venerables being butchered reached the Thorn Ring Alliance's headquarters via a report from Venerable Ji Qi, who had successfully resurrected thanks to his cloning ability. Venerable Ji Qi reported to his higher-ups that they were completely wrecked by a mysterious, crazy strong black beast that was an expert in the gold beast god path. He testified that the beast's power was almost on par with a real beast god, seeing as he was instantly killed in a single hit, without even getting to put up a decent fight. This report left Piercing Heartmaster, a leader in the Thorn Ring Alliance, totally confused because the beast's description didn't match any universe overlord on the human race's roster that he knew of. He refused to believe that Luofeng was the one who did it, figuring Luofeng's level of law comprehension was still way too low to master a technique that overpowered. Piercing Heartmaster assumed that the Primal Chaos City leader had purposely sent a high-level secret bodyguard to protect his favorite disciple from other races' threats, even though the news of the massacre spread like wildfire across the major powers of the universe. Most alliances didn't see it as a serious issue and chalked it up to the Universe Venerable's own stupid greed. They figured anyone dumb enough to provoke a genius with massive backing totally deserved the deadly consequences. Still, the identity of the Black Beast guarding Luofeng remained a massive mystery that top dogs across various racial alliances couldn't stop talking about. Ironically, even inside the Hongmeng alliance itself, the palace leaders were laughing and praising what they thought was a brilliant strategy cooked up by the Primal Chaos City leader. They congratulated him on the successful plan of using Luofeng as bait to cripple other alliances' forces. But behind his smile, the Primal Chaos City leader was actually super baffled, because he hadn't assigned any bodyguard to Luofeng at all, and he started wondering what kind of secret power his disciple was actually hiding. Over on a different original star, Luofeng was back at it again, using his 9 Tiger River domain to trap 3 Universe Venerables from the Northern Territory Alliance. Even though these enemies initially looked down on Luofeng due to his Immortal King status, they panicked instantly the moment they felt the insane pressure of the Golden River. Unfortunately, their attempts to run were totally pointless because the domain made their movements sluggish and incredibly difficult. The vibe got even scarier when the mysterious Black Beast, the Golden Horned Beast, emerged from the water currents and attacked brutally. In just seconds, 2 Universe Venerables were killed instantly, while the last Universe Venerable barely managed to scream that Luofeng was just bait before his life was ended by a slash from the Cutting Pearl sword. Luofeng then calmly looted all the spoils of war, including the armor and weapons of the now obliterated victims. Luofeng realized that the Northern Territory Alliance was really slow at updating their intel since they didn't have a system like the human race's virtual universe. Luofeng took full advantage of this ignorance to keep hunting down Universe Venerables from that alliance who still thought of him as a rich, easy target. So far, he had butchered a ton of Universe Venerables from various major alliances who hadn't caught wind of how terrifying the true power behind the silver-winged human really was. Back in the virtual universe, Luofeng hit up the open-air bar in the Hongmeng Alliance to monitor the situation while waiting for news on his main target. His rep was now through the roof. Even the Universe Overlords were treating him with serious respect. A lot of people believed that Luofeng had a secret top-tier fighter acting as his guardian inside his world ring, who they thought was responsible for the killing spree on the original star. On one occasion, Luofeng bumped into 2 legendary Universe Venerables, Venerable Gui Yi and Venerable Undying, who were disciples of the Primal Chaos City leader and the Huge Axe creator. They chatted about Luofeng's insane track record of wiping out 82 Universe Venerables and 5 Universe Overlords in a ridiculously short amount of time. Luofeng casually confirming that kill count left the 2 senior Universe Venerables dumbfounded, fully realizing the massive impact Luofeng's presence was having on the battlefield. When pressed about the identity of the powerful ally helping him, Luofeng casually dropped the name Golden Mountain Knight. Of course, he didn't bother explaining that this figure was actually just an alternate identity for his Golden Horned Beast body that had joined the Space Beast Alliance. Since nobody believed Luofeng pulled it off solo, they could only speculate about this Golden Mountain Knight, assuming he belonged to another race. In the middle of their chill conversation, Venerable Bloodywing came over to Luofeng to deliver some super important news. After a massive search across thousands of original stars, the coordinates for Venerable Tianyang's location had finally been pinned down. Hearing that intel, Luofeng's eyes lit up with pure ambition because the real hunt to complete his treasure wings was finally about to begin. After getting the exact coordinates of Venerable Tianyang's whereabouts from Venerable Bloody Wing, Luofeng couldn't hide his excitement. He had been waiting for this moment for years, and had even gone out of his way to boost his power by tracking down the 4th black metal board just for today. Wasting no time, he immediately revved up his silver wings and gunned it toward original star number 02881 to finish his grand mission, snagging the other pair of wings to finally perfect his Shiwu wings. So what happens next? Let's wait and see in the next video, guys. Okay, thank you for watching until the end, and don't forget to support this channel with likes, subscribe, and comments. That's all from me. Bye.